Jacoby. What is it that we
What up, though?
do?
We get it, people! What they want.
Jalen, we have an update on the Ben Simmons saga with the Sixers, and it is this. He said, I don't care about media day. I don't care about practice. I don't care about preseason games. I am not playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. There are serious implications about this stance from Simmons. What do you think about the latest?
So this is a unique case because normally you don't have an all-NBA player at his age being so very disgruntled with the team while currently having 4 years at top dollar remaining on his contract. And it's not just him breaking up with the Sixers. The organization and the city broke up with him after that playoff series. And so even if he decided to show up, Jacoby, it's almost gonna be like he's not welcome. And when you have a fatal flaw in your game, and for him, that's not attempting shots outside of the paint, that's easy for the layman fan, supporter, media member to highlight that weakness. However, if you watch the game and you understand that there's so many ways to impact a basketball team besides shooting the ball, you understand that Ben Simmons is one of the best players in the league that just so happened to not be able to make jump shots. And what ends up happening is the Sixers have the most physically dominant big in the game, Joel Embiid. So therefore, you're going to feed him on the wing, on the block, and he's an MVP candidate. But when he's at his best, he's going to occupy the same areas that Ben Simmons needs to occupy in order to be effective. That's why I said years ago, years ago I said this. If you're going to build around Joel Embiid, you must trade Ben Simmons because he needs to be surrounded by shooters. The second thing with Ben, he's not your point guard. He's your wing. He's on the baseline. He's a secondary ball handler. You get a block, you get a steal, you get a turnover. He's one of the best in the league. He's like Russell Westbrook in the open floor, but he's 6'10". But in the half court, he just can't be your initiator of offense constantly. But he's still a terrific performer. But not showing up at training camp, Jacoby, does not help me move you. It doesn't help you increase your value because the last time we saw you play, your team and the process was getting eliminated again, and yet you had some dubious fourth quarter performances against the Hawks.
Jalen, you know I have a lot of sayings, right? And one is your actions should support your goals. If his goal is to get traded, his actions should be showing up to camp to increase his value. And look at the bottom there, Jalen Rose. Every preseason game he misses, it's $250,000. One thing I know that you hold very high is getting your checks. I know that's one of your priorities is getting the checks. Do you think it'll get to the point where he's losing $250,000 for missing preseason games?
So this is unique, and that's why I started my commentary by saying he has multiple years left on his deal. Look at athletes like you look at a piece of property, right? Or even a used car. When you're not driving a used car and you're not putting miles on it, it doesn't decrease your value. So for him, not playing and not getting this year's check doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to shorten his career. He's still got multiple years left on that deal. So he's forcing their hand, and he's also acknowledging that this is over. And so because of that, I'm willing to sabotage your season if you don't move me. Oh, you don't want me? I'm the reason that we can't get to our goals? So here's what we're gonna do then. Y'all go ahead and play without me. And so this is something that we normally, like with James Harden last year in the Rockets, that was different because he had been there for so many years. He's been an MVP, he was their franchise player, and he just decided that he wanted to go join KD and Kyrie. So I'm gonna show up out of shape and force y'all to move me. In this case, he got 4 years left on this deal already. 4 years. So if y'all don't want to move me, I'll just sit back and I'll wait.
Well,
and
it's not like Daryl
when
Morey
they don't
hasn't
move him,
tried.
the longer
it's not like
they
he
take,
hasn't tried to
Correct.
trade Ben Simmons. When I look around the league, I don't see a natural dance partner. People talk about Wiggins in the Warriors. People talk about John Wall in the Rockets, or Dame, or C.J. McCollum, or some sort of Kings package. I don't see a natural dance partner for this to happen. Do you think there's a team out there that's going to be able to get this done before we start the season?
So right now, as you mentioned, teams like Houston, Portland, Minnesota are being mentioned. And those could be likely landing spots. But take it from somebody that's been around this game his entire life and has been traded multiple times. Unorthodox situations like this usually lead to deals that you don't see coming involving multiple teams, because everything he isn't offensively, ladies and gentlemen, he is defensively. You just showed me footage of him guarding Trae Young, right? He can do that. When Kevin Durant comes to town, he can do that. He's all NBA defender. He's been an all NBA player. It's just that not shooting the ball outside of the paint doesn't play to his strengths, because you have a great anchor in Joel Embiid.
Well, we'll keep an eye on this one. And he, of course, is repped by Clutch Sports, who also reps Anthony Davis, who is now a Los Angeles Laker, along with many other future Hall of Famers. And the Lakers are going to Vegas. They're going to have a 3-day mini camp in Vegas. And Jalen, I'm concerned about this, because when you're in your 20s, 3 days in Vegas sounds like fun. But when you're in your 30s, 3 days in Vegas is too much time in Vegas. Too much time in Vegas. What do you think about the team building trip to Vegas for the Lakers?
I think my guy Rich Paul, and congratulations, because Adele made their relationship IG official. Here's what happens, Jacoby, and I don't have to tell you this. Going to Vegas allows you to get out of the house. That's what it allows you to do. See, you talking about being in your 20s, but what about when you're in your 30s? You know what I'm saying? I don't have to tell you, LeBron got more kids than you, dog. He's trying to get out of the house.
Anthony Davis just got married. Anthony Davis just got married, and he's going on his bachelor party after the wedding to Vegas. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this for Anthony Davis. But in all seriousness,
this is the OG. This is the OG way to sneak in a bachelor party without announcing it. Boss move. Boss move.
I mean,
you don't do
work
it
out together.
the day or
That's
two
like
before the wedding.
out of the day. You know, that's like 4 hours out of the day. There's gonna be a lot of free time for them to be by the pool, and maybe some establishments outside of the pool. Jalen, when you look at this, the Lakers are short only to the Nets when it comes to the Caesars Sportsbook championship odds. What do you think about those numbers?
I'm not mad at those odds. The Nets are my favorite to win the East this year. We can't overlook Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday, the reigning champions. They're going to be in the mix. But a healthy Nets team that didn't play over 20 games total with their big three are going to be dynamic this year. But like I've told you on this show, my worry for the Nets is that they play in New York. And that worry also goes with the fact that there might be a couple of people on their team that are extremely notable that are still unvaccinated. And you saw the rules, Jacoby, of New York City. Adam Silver doesn't have to say anything. I'm gonna let the states legislate this. I'm not about to get into no issues with elite players or any of my guys around the league. And that's the thing I'm looking for when you show those Nets betting odds.
Well, Jalen, the Nets general manager, Sean Marks, former teammate of yours, he went out and said that if the season were to start today, there would be some players on the roster, perhaps some prominent players, that would not be eligible based on those rules. Now, Jalen, he says he doesn't expect it to be a problem, so I guess what he's saying is there'll be some Nets receiving shots in the next week. What do you think about what Sean Marks said?
I think for the people that are just listening to Sean Marks, That might be breaking news. And Kevin Durant, shout to him, as I just was with George Gervin the other day. I'm calling him Iceberg Slim for years. James Harden will show up at camp in shape. Kevin Durant is an unstoppable scorer. Kyrie Irving, the best handles in the game, the best left hand in the league. It should have its own. But if they're not all vaccinated, that's going to be an issue. And you're not finding out this for the first time if you watch J&J. This is actually broken news to you, because this is something we kind of talked about a few weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, one way I could see it potentially playing out is there is a loophole. You cannot get vaccinated for religious and or health reasons. So perhaps that might be something that the players use to their advantage to make sure that they go on the court, even if they did not get a shot. Jalen, we learned a little bit about Jimmy G and who he goes to when he needs advice. Half day. What do you think about this?
It's a dirty game. I learned that a long time ago. The same person that's smiling in your face is sending an email trying to take your job. And that's what Aaron Rodgers was actually doing on draft day, trying to navigate himself to California to play for the 49ers. And again, if you're Jimmy Garoppolo and Aaron Rodgers knows your name, you definitely are happy to use him as a source. But it would be, I would not be surprised, however, if we look up and this time next year, Aaron Rodgers is actually playing quarterback for the team that Jimmy Garoppolo is advising him about. I'm just saying.
Exactly. I can see these two switching places. We'll see if that happens in time. But one thing I do not see happening is Aaron Rodgers returning to the Packers next year. We have some bad news. It has to do with quarterbacks. Big Ben Roethlisberger has a pectoral injury, and that is just another in a slew of injuries for the Steelers. How much trouble is Pittsburgh in?
They're in a lot of trouble, and Big Ben isn't aging like Tom Brady. Like at the height of his career, Big Ben like being almost like a refrigerator in the pocket. Big, sturdy, strong, shaking off tacklers, Super Bowl champion, being willing to take the hit and make the big throw. But that has caught up with him. And each season, it seems like there's one injury after another. And I said this about Carson Wentz as well. You just can't go into a season at this point of their careers and think you're going to rely on them.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be able to go into a season and say, he's going to be my guy for 15, 16, 17 games. And so for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond without Big Ben in the lineup.
Again, remember they started 11-0 last year. They had some injuries on defense last year. They have injuries on both sides of the ball this year. I do not see good things in the future for the Steelers. They've got Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Don't forget Dwayne Haskins, who had shown some flashes in the preseason. Perhaps he'll get an opportunity to be the quarterback for the Steelers. Jalen, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's been in the news. He's been, you remember the VMAs, he was arguing with Machine Gun Kelly, and now he went out to the Cubs game and threw out the first pitch. And Mr. Rose, what do you think about McGregor's first pitch here?
Shout to Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox. They were just in the D yesterday. Conor, those pants are so tight that I understand why you threw it in the stands. You know what I'm saying? Because if he'd have stretched his leg towards the plate, his pants would have burst. So I understand why it ended up in the stands. The only one that was worse for a guy that I know that can throw hands, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Where's his?
Yeah,
Where's 50 Cent when we need him? Here's the only one that was worse.
We got Mr. Wahlberg here. I mean, that one just got away from him a little bit. And of course, Bill Murray at the Cubs game. That was intentional. But Curtis 50 Cent Jackson
on purpose. Bill Murray's
was so
a legend.
Impressive. This one right here. I love it so much. Conor McGregor also can't throw footballs. I don't know if you remember that Dallas Cowboys game. He can't throw anything except for punches. And then Jalen Rose, show us how you do it. Show us how you do it. So you got those loose pants.
How you do it?
That looked good. There it is. Look at this one right down the middle. Look at that.
That's how you get it over the plate, baby.
Oh, shout out to Jimmy.
Looking like Shohei.
It's time for Show Me Some Shohei. And here's Conor McGregor. He just doesn't throw anything except for punches. That's what we're learning from him. He throws punches. That's what he throws. He doesn't throw footballs, baseballs. He throws punches. It is time for Show Me Some Shohei. Jalen Rose, Shohei Ohtani will likely not pitch anymore this season, but that doesn't mean he's still not hitting. He had his 45th home run yesterday. He's the AL MVP. Can we just give him the MVP? Can we do that, please?
Jacoby, just think about this. A guy that can go to the mound, strike out the side, throw all of the pitches, and be an ace pitcher. Also hit his 45th home run. So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
How many home runs would he have if he wasn't pitching? Just think about that for a second. He got 45 right now, and that's as a duality with pitching. If he did not pitch and he focused solely on hitting this year, how many home runs do you think he would currently have?
I honestly think that he is such a unique talent that it would still be 45. Like, I don't even think pitching affects his approach to the plate. He is just so good at Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence, and Mac Jones. Well, guess what? No one was talking about Davis Mills. Davis Mills, the third-round pick for the Texans, will be starting because Tyrod Taylor is hurt. Jalen, what do you think about Mr. Mills?
I'm surprised by the Carolina Panthers 2-0 start. And we're going to look up after this week, and they're still going to be undefeated with Sam Darnold. Christian McCaffrey is about to go crazy in fantasy this weekend. I already see Robbie Anderson hitting his head on the goalpost, and I already see their defense giving Davis Mills nightmares. The elephant in the room that we're not really discussing as it relates to football right now, and rightfully so, is the Deshaun Watson situation.
Yep.
Anytime you lose to Tyrod Taylor and you go to Davis Mills, that's the elephant in the room, and that's going to be hovering not only over the Texans, but over this NFL season until his situation gets closer to a resolution.
I don't think we'll see Deshaun Watson play all season long, especially with Tyrod Taylor out and you're playing Davis Mills, the rookie from Stanford. Moving on, Jalen Rose. I did not know that Canelo had an upcoming fight against a gentleman by the name of Caleb Plant, but I do now because at the press conference, things got a little testy. Canelo pushes him and then he comes back after him. What do you think about the skirmish at the press conference to promote the fight?
Hold me back! I love the way he pulled that left-handed shot that he threw at Canelo. I like that the mega guy, Canelo, pushed first. You know who never got into these huffing and puffing, blow your house down type of things? Mike Tyson. You know, he don't do this. He don't do this at all. Ask Mitch Green. He got a star under his eye? He ended up catching a star? Oh, man. So he dotted his eye and knocked off his glasses. Oh, man.
This is
I'm
how
going
you
to
sell a
check this
fight.
fight out now.
This is how you sell a fight.
I have to check this fight out now.
I didn't know this fight was
Wow.
happening. Now I'm going to be watching it.
Wow.
This is how you sell a fight. If
Wow.
it takes a little cut under your eye to sell a fight, get some more pay-per-views, then I guess that's what you do.
The only reason I wear glasses, it ain't to see. It's so that somebody won't hit me in the face. Canelo it doesn't matter to him, I see.
Jalen can't see anything but still wears glasses every day without a prescription. It's one of the weirdest things about you. I don't understand it. Jalen, we have another announcement. The Fugees are going to reunite and go on tour. What do you think about The Score coming back in your life?
It's the way that we rock when we doing our thing. Ooh la la la. Did you hear Lauryn Hill's bars on Nas King's Disease?
Of course I did. Of course I did.
I'm excited that they're back together. They're one of the dopest groups of all time.
We'll be back together tomorrow at 4 o'clock on ESPN2.